Marvin Devine. I'm saying bye to all the lies and all the times you cried, saying that I wasn't right, yet I was right by your side. You manipulator, playing games, your friends commentators, and I don't know what you say about our private conversations, but it's got them hating. Thanks to all the rumors you be claiming, it's cool, I'm done with you, so they can throw you a celebration. You gon' hate it when you see me with somebody living better. I'm trying to tell you that me just doing me gon' have you jealous.
Hey folks, welcome back. The program is Chris live in central Pennsylvania for yet another one of our South Africa refugee stories. Interview with folks who've come over, the Strauss family, Martin and Erika, who are in Owensboro, Kentucky. Also buried under the snow at this hour, dealing with the same thing I'm dealing with. And here's a little bit of inside information for you guys. Last year, on my trip to South Africa in April and May, I did 18 meet and greets. Well, technically I did 19 because I had a meet and greet with a family in Paarl, a one-off, just one family. I offered it to people to come, and one family came, and we had a lovely time, and it was none other than the couple you see on screen here. And I actually forgotten about, not about meeting them, but forgotten and associated them with that meet and greet. So we had a lovely meet and greet that evening, and it was a weird, kind of a cold evening, if I remember correctly, kind of windy. But they came to Paarl, and I should remember because the name of Strauss is very German, and usually I remember German names. But guys, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Colonel.
Thank you, Colonel.
All right, so wow, it's been not quite a year and about 8 or 9 months, and we saw each other there. So what was that meet and greet like for you guys? Because I didn't get a chance to ask you on camera. Now I got you on camera. I can put you on the spot. Did you enjoy meeting me there, or what was that like?
Yes, we enjoyed it. It was very, very interesting, and it was fun for us to meet you. It was an honor to meet you.
It was a privilege
Yes.
to meet the Colonel, the great Colonel Chris Wyatt.
And you didn't come along. You had some little ones, did you not?
Yeah.
Yes, an 11-year-old girl and a 7-year-old girl.
And,
in Mardia.
And how did they find the experience?
Well, I think they didn't really understood what was happening. To be honest, they are aware of you and your program by now. But I think at that point they were just thinking that we're going to visit, some uncle or something. They weren't really, interested in what we had to ask, and so they were just along for the ride. I would say.
And when we watched you on TV, I would say, "There's the Colonel. Here is he. I saw him. I gave him a hug," my little one said. So it was very fun for them. And I see you on TV.
Okay, well, now you're in the States. When did you guys arrive? And then we'll talk a little about your arrival, and then we'll go back to when you started getting in the program. So when did you arrive in Owensboro, and how was that reception?
So we arrived on the 6th of January, and we arrived late in the evening. They came to pick us up at the airport in Evansville. It was around about 6, 7 o'clock. It was dark when we got here. And we came straight to our home where we are staying now. And the people were very friendly, very helpful. And when we stepped into our residence, the fridge was stocked, the cupboards were full, we had everything we needed. There were beds, there were sheets, there were furniture, and we had everything we needed. So the people here, or the resettlement agency, they are great, and they are still being great. The support is very good.
Well, it sounds like you're having one of the better experiences, which most people are having. Most refugees coming over South are having good experience. We've talked about a few bad ones, but that's not the purpose of this conversation. So I'm glad it's going very well. Now, have you been able to successfully get your Social Security number and or your EAD?
So unfortunately, not yet. We are still waiting on our EAD cards, and only then we can go apply for Social Security. So we've been here about almost 3 weeks now. So we're still waiting. We're just being patient, trusting the process.
Okay, I'm not sure who relayed that information to you about that, but you don't need your EAD to apply for a Social Security card. So I'm not sure where that came from. So if that's coming for refugee assistance officer, you might want to chat with them and ask if maybe you misunderstood or they relayed that incorrectly, because go get your Social Security number as quickly as possible so that any bills like rent and things like that and utilities can start being something that builds your credit score. Without Social Security number, you won't build a credit score. The EAD, sometimes it's supposed to be within 30 days for refugees now. That's the standard that they have for USCIS. Sometimes it takes longer. We've seen one of the 59ers who still doesn't have one. He's been here for 8 months, but most people get them pretty quickly. But the Social Security number is the first thing. In America, you're not a person unless you have a Social Security number. When I was a kid, you didn't have to have a Social Security number. You didn't get it till you went to work. Sometimes a teenager you work, so you have to get it, but usually you got it around the age of 18. Then because so many people cheated on their taxes and falsely claimed children that didn't exist because they didn't have any identity number, oh, I've got 6 children. Then you could take them off your taxes and lower your tax bill. They lowered that to one point you had to have every child under 5 or under, you had a Social Security number, and then eventually it became 1 year. So when you're born in America now, you have 12 months to get a Social Security number. Otherwise, your family can't claim you as a dependent. So just check into Social Security. I don't want you guys to be hung up and then you're starting to run out of money or support. Just ask that question again, just to make sure you're straight, okay?
So to be honest, Colonel, we did. And I was also under the impression that you don't need an EOD for the Social Security number. But our agent insisted on us waiting for the EOD and then making an appointment with the Social Security office to get those. So I didn't want to argue with him. I just accepted it, but I think I will probably tomorrow I'll give him a phone call regarding that, and we'll have a conversation about that then.
Yeah, I don't want you to be contentious with someone that's providing good support to you, but that's the first time I've ever heard that story. You don't have to have an employment authorization document to get a Social Security number. You don't have to have permanent residency to get a Social Security number. The only reason, if you come to America and you do work here, you apply either for anyway, it's TA, taxpayer identification number, or Social Security number. But anyway, don't sweat it. Just that's just something that you're going to need, and both of you obviously need that. And the kids are going to need that at some point too. So I'm not sure how that works for refugee kids, but for the adults, you'll have to get it. Anyway, so that's that. Okay, so we met last year in Parle, and I had Indian and McDonald's that night, strangely enough. I went into Parle, and I picked up Indian and I picked up McDonald's, and that was my meal. That's not exactly the right mix, and then I didn't have any silverware, any flatware, so I had to dig around in the drawers of that bed and breakfast on the wine estate there to find a spoon, and I got this big spoon about that big. I was like shoveling the Indian food in my mouth. But that was after you guys left. We had a lovely conversation, and I hope that I answered your questions as best I could. Was our interaction helpful in your decision to go ahead and do what you're doing? Or I don't recall if you'd already done a PRM email, because there was no statement of interest when we talked.
No. So only after that, I think maybe a good month after that, I think, we completed the statement of interest. Okay. But obviously the conversation we had a direct influence of our decision, what do you call it, to apply our interest in applying for the refugee program.
Yeah, there's a question in the chat from Velvet Blue. Can one do their own application for Social Security number, or do you need to go through the agency? You can do it on your own. I mean, Americans don't need an agency to apply for Social Security number, although I suspect you may need. There's someone's membership. Let me turn that the alerts off. Sorry, because it's right on top of your head. There we go. So you can, and I've talked. In fact, in Rochester, one of the refugee families got their own Social Security numbers because they weren't getting any help from refugee agency whatsoever. You can go, but I think I can't state for certain. You might need the I-94 form. You might have to have that to show that you're a refugee. I don't know. I don't know that it's necessary. But you can go and schedule your own. But I don't recommend people do that because you don't necessarily navigate the Social Security Administration. Some offices around the country do walk-ins. Some only do by appointment. Some do both. And I've looked in Georgia at a place where they do both because their agent was telling them that they couldn't get an appointment. And I'm like, you don't need one. I checked your local office. I looked online. They take walk-ins. You may have to sit there for 2 or 3 hours, but hey, 2 or 3 hours as opposed to waiting a month and a half for your appointment, which would you rather do? So, yeah, to answer Velvet Blue's question, that's the answer. Mad Max says, as of January, the short answer is yes, you generally need your physical EAD card before you can apply. Okay, well, that's a change then, Mad Max. So your agent may be correct about that as of January. Maybe that's something new that came in the big, beautiful bill. You have to have your EAD to get the Social Security number. But that wasn't the case before. All right, don't rock the boat then. All right, but hopefully they'll get that soon. All right. but you're supposed to get your AD within 30 days normally. I've talked to people who got it in 2 weeks. I've talked to people that waited 8 months. So it just depends. Yeah, why Kentucky? Well, why Kentucky? Somebody's trying to be funny. No, Kentucky Fried Chicken is not from Kentucky. Stop. Anyway, I'm sure they hear a lot of that. Okay, so you guys went ahead and did the statement of interest about a month after we had our meet and greet. Did you have a long conversation about it? Did you say, is this the right thing for us to do, or were you just really in a bad situation you had to get out of it?
Well, we had a family meeting about it, and we weighed up all the pros and cons, and we prayed about it a lot, I would say, and then the answer just came. So eventually, we all decided on if we are to apply and we are to be successful, then that is the decision that we are going to take. We want to come to America as refugees and start a new life. So yeah, it was for us. It was quite an easy decision, based on what's going on in South Africa at the moment. So yeah, it wasn't a complicated thing, I would say, for us.
So Erika, let me ask this question. So during your interview, without disclosing things in your interview, did they ask if you knew anybody in America? And if so, did you mention my name? Because apparently some people do that.
Yes, I did. I did ask you, and I mentioned your name. And I said, okay, cool, the colonel. So they didn't ask anything any further, but I did ask.
So USCIS did ask a question about me because there's been a lot of interest in me by USCIS lately, and I'm just curious about that. All right, so you guys did it in May. When did you first get contacted after the statement of interest?
I would say the first week of August was our first contact from RSC.
Okay, so August, and then when did you go in for an interview in medicals?
Our first, it was on the 28th of October. So we went to Pretoria, and we spent a day there, I would say, and then we drove back down to Wellington. And on our way back, we received a phone call telling us that the next day we should be at the waterfront
For our
medicals.
Well, that worked out very well for you guys because you didn't have to go all the way back to Joburg. You had Cape Town because you lived down the Western Cape. Wow.
We were concerned regarding that, yeah.
That was very fortunate for you guys. Wow, because a lot of people are told, like, I've had people from Durban drive up to Joburg for their interview, and then they're headed back, and halfway back to Durban, they're passing through the Mooi River Toll Plaza, and they're like, text message, you got to be in Cape Town tomorrow. Like, you got to be kidding me. What? Are you serious?
very tired when we had to go for our interview and our medicals, but we made it. We made it happen.
So, Erika, let me ask you this question. What was the most frustrating part of the process? Because you did the statement of interest in May, you got contacted in August, you started doing medicals interviews in October, and by January made it. To me, I mean, now, I'm not in your shoes, but to me that seems like a very reasonable timeline of when you got contacted, given how many people were applying for this program. Did you feel under the pump or under the pressure at any time, or concerned that maybe you weren't being considered, or were there any concerns you had about the program?
It was very frustrating because we didn't know if we were gonna hear anything back, when we are going to hear anything back, or anything, because we were unsure, because everything was a little bit upside down for us at our side. So we just waited and we were on our nerves. We didn't know what to expect and when to expect it and when it's going to happen.
Well, Martin, let me ask this question. The RSC folks you dealt with, now I've found myself defending them an awful lot, explaining to people there aren't many of them doing this task. They're working 7 days a week. They try very hard. I get all kinds of complaints from some South Africans, like, who are they to decide I get to America? And I explain to them they have no say in it. They're simply pre-screening you to make sure you're real people, your numbers are valid, you can be contacted, and then schedule you with the U.S. government for medical, and then for your interviews, and then your travel out. So I found myself defending them, ironically, but they're a subsidiary of Church World Service, which is causing all kinds of problems in Rochester. But my question to you is, most of the South Africans I talked to after going through this process said that the people at RSC were very understanding, particularly those with traumatic stories to tell. They had a very traumatic story, and they were very understanding. What was your interaction with RSC? Was it good? Was it a good experience, or were there any challenges there?
I would say it was generally a good interaction. However, our first preliminary interview, that was also I would say it was middle August. So we had a Microsoft Teams meeting with a lady from Kenya, from RSC representative. And she did basically what she told us, that she was going to start building our case. And then she asked us all the questions basically that followed on the next interviews, like, why do you guys want to apply? And what's your story? And we had a little bit of a struggle with that particular agent. She claimed, even though we articulated everything that we had to, because obviously we prepared for that. She claimed that we are not giving her enough in order for her to build a concrete case. And then she actually proceeded after an hour of back and forth. She said that she's going to end the meeting and she's going to phone us back after an hour or 2 hours so we can basically retry. That didn't happen. So a day went by, and then we started sending emails to RSC, and we even reached out to Amerikaners, and it ended up, I think we spoke to Sam Busa from the Amerikaners. It was almost, we had the feeling that we had personally was as if the person that we dealt with from RSC was almost trying to jeopardize our case, I would say. I would basically go as far as saying that we felt that we gave her everything, honestly, what we had, and it would have been sufficient because we basically spoke the same story at all the following interviews, including the USCIS interview, and for those people it was sufficient. Everything we told them basically was the same from start to finish in all our interviews. And the interview we had in Pretoria was also via Teams with the Kenyan lady, and that time it was a different Kenyan lady, and she was very understanding, very supportive, and that interview went very well, including the USCIS interview that followed after the medicals. So yeah, we had a little bit of a bad experience, because it felt like we couldn't trust the lady, and the way that she reacted on some of the stuff that we were telling her. You get like a personal feeling that this is not the right person. But obviously, and I even told Erika that after that interview, I told her, listen here, if this is the way it went, we're not going to get accepted into this program. So we made peace with it. But luckily, they came through for us, and like I said, we stuck to our story. We were honest, and it was the same story. And for the rest of the duration or the progression of the program, we made it with that same story. So I mean, that's basically all I can say regarding RSC.
All right.
The rest is
so there's a super chat here from Daniel Callahan saying, do they want green cards? It really doesn't matter whether they want them, Daniel. If they want to retain refugee status at the 12-month stage, they'll have to apply for green cards for permanent residency, and they'll remain refugees until such time they go back to South Africa if the system ameliorates, which it's unlikely to do, or they apply for American citizenship after the 5-year mark. So they'll have to apply for green cards. All refugees have to apply for permanent residency after 12 months. They can't do it before then. They have to have 12 months continuous residence in the United States as a refugee, and then they apply for it. So, okay, so if I understand correctly, Martin, the first person that spoke to you from RSC wasn't listening to your articulation in a fashion that gave you any sense that it was going to be successful, but you were persistent, and then when you were contacted again, the same information proved to be adequate for everyone else in the process.
That's correct, no?
All right, well, it must have been a bit concerning and disheartening, Erika, to get through that first one, and then you get the sense like, oh my gosh, we're screwed, we can't come over.
Yeah, it was very fascinating. I was in tears every time when I called me afterwards from being nervous. But we made it, we are here, so it was all worth it.
Well, I don't want to recommend that people get in tears when you get called by USCIS or interviewed, but But and I'm not saying that's what pushed you over the top. But if you were upset each time, maybe they were reading those nonverbal clues, which were pretty obvious with the tears and being upset. Well, that's a shame that it happened that way. But it is good to hear that that your story was the same. You know, you told the truth and it was sufficient. And that's the challenge here. Now, of course, you know, I don't recall if I told you guys this because I started focusing on this a lot after my trip to South Africa because a lot of people were talking about, well, I've been robbed and I was carjacked. And I'm like, well, that's terrible, but that's not a basis for refugee status. I'm like, what do you mean? I'm like, no, being a victim of crime is not I mean, we have crime victims in America. We don't get refugee status. We don't give government protection. It has to be racially based or politically based or something like that. And so I tried to tell people that, you know, you can articulate, you can be a victim of crime 1,000 times, but unless there's a racial basis to it, then you know, that's problematic. So for you guys, you got through this process. When did you find out you were coming over? How long before you flew, and when did you find out where you were going to wind up at?
Well, we got contact the 24th of December. That's when we got our flight tickets. So it was a little bit of a surprise just before Christmas.
Well, I would say Gesende Kerstfeest then, on the 24th.
Yeah, it is. Basically, it was, yeah.
What a Christmas gift to get that you're going to be able to escape and come over to the United States. Wow, that's a Christmas Eve present. But you flew on the 3rd, so there wasn't a lot of time, a little bit more than some of the other refugees, but not a lot of time.
We flew on the 5th of January.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, and in fact, that I know better because that's the day I predicted people would fly against. You guys were the first ones to come back over when it resumed after the Christmas exodus. So you landed on the 6th. You flew the 5th. So from the 24th, you had a week to the 31st. So you had about 12 days before you flew.
That's correct. Yeah.
So what did you do? Did you quit your jobs or give up your house or give up your apartment, sell your bakkie? Did you? I mean, what happened in those 12 days?
Exactly that what you just said. Yeah, we just prepared, got rid of everything, sold the bakkie, gave up the house. So we didn't own property, we rented. So luckily the landlord was very understanding. I lost my deposit, but that's okay. I mean, it is what it is. So and we moved in with our mother and my stepfather. They live in Betty's Bay, and we stayed with them until they took us to the airport, basically. We stayed with them until we had to leave.
And so what's that like, your in-laws and your family? I mean, did you tell them? You obviously told them at some point because you wound up staying in Betty's Bay. But so what was that like? Did you tell them early in the process, or did you wait till you were confirmed? And if so, what was the reaction amongst family members on both sides of the family?
So I know I broke my mom's heart, honestly, taking her grandkids away from her. And we ended up telling most of our families.
Which are the closest to us?
I would say round about when we went for our USCIS interviews, and the rest of the family we told after we received our acceptance letter via email. So that concludes obviously that we are going at some point. We just don't know when, and that's also when I spoke to my employer and made them aware of it. Luckily, they don't have too much of a big problem with it.
And the kids' school too.
Yeah, and then we also spoke to the school, preparing them also that we're going to pull the kids out of school. Luckily, it worked out in such a way that they could finish the school year. That was great. So everything worked out pretty well, I would say.
Well, that's just, I think the timing actually worked out perfectly for you, because if it had come in September, you'd had to take the kids out of school during the school year, and then just starting a school year over here. So now that you've arrived in the States, it's been a short period of time, but are the kids already enrolled in school in Kentucky?
Yes, both of them are, yeah.
Right, I would imagine probably in a public school, and if so, what's that like? Have you seen the school? Have you seen the curriculum, what they're studying?
Yes, we did. We went to the school the first day. They showed us around, and we met the teachers and some of the kids in the class. And it was a good experience. I must say, the schools are very good over there.
So the public schools in this county is extraordinary. They're all the two schools our daughters go to, they're both blue ribbon schools. So I think it's some of the best schools in the state. I think that's what it means, the blue ribbon. I'm not too sure about that, but that's what they told us.
Well, yeah, that's a title they give for high performing schools in that state. So that's not surprising. You'd have to look at the ratings. You can do that online. Yeah, a lot of schools are rated, kind of like I think you also do the same thing for schools in South Africa to feel for it. But if you're happy with what they're studying and they're adjusting well, I mean, what's it been like for the kids? I mean, they're at an age, particularly 11-year-old, where you've got friends and you're moving. Look, I mean, I moved a lot as a kid, so to me it's not a big deal. I mean, I moved so many times as a minor, but for a lot of folks, their kids move for the first time. It can be a little difficult to adjust. It sounds like they're adjusting well. Is that a fair assumption on my part?
Yes, they are adjusting very well. Especially our oldest one, she is very good in English, so she's doing very well, and our youngest one too. Actually, surprised with their performance.
Yeah. So they, both of them, they were placed in the next grade that they were going to be in next year, I would say. So my 11-year-old, she started grade 6, or she fell in grade 6, and my 7-year-old, she fell into grade 2. And it to us, it seems like they're adjusting very good. And yeah, I would say everything is honestly, we've been so blessed. The children is getting along in school. And also the schools that they go to, they get free meals, free breakfast and free lunch also. So we don't even have to stress about that. I mean, that's a huge, I would say. They have to get up pretty early in the morning, especially the little one. She gets on the bus at 6:45. And the older one, her school starts a little bit later. She gets on the bus, I think, 7:30. Oh, yeah, sounds about right, yeah.
Well, I was a dairy farmer. 6:45 is not early. 4:30 is early. So that's not early to me. When I used to get on the bus in the morning, I was already up at 4:30 and milking cows at 5 o'clock. So I fired up the generators and calling the cows in. We entice them with a little bit of grain, a little molasses, and they come into the milking barn and saddle right up there. But no, okay, I got what you're saying there. I guess when we were kids, we walked 12 miles through the snow uphill both ways. That sort of thing. Yeah. Anyway, but seriously, all right. Well, it sounds like the kids are adjusting very well here. Someone asked the question, which always gets asked. I don't know why people ask this question, because there's no reason to ask this question, Skulk, because it does not matter. Every case is different, but I will ask the question anyway. What was the time frame between receiving your approval letter and receiving the flight details? I'm guessing they came at the same time, or were there different times?
I would say it was round about, I think, 3 weeks. Round about 3 weeks.
Yes, 3 weeks,
Yeah.
almost, yes.
Yeah.
And Corey's saying 7-year-old alone on a bus. Yeah, with a bus full of 7 and 8-year-olds going to school. I don't understand that question, Corey. That's kind of an odd one to me. I mean, we all ride school buses unless you live in an urban center where you can walk to the school. But most American kids grow up. I mean, this isn't South Africa where you all waste, petrol and pollute the environment with carbon emissions by all driving your kids to school. You rich, privileged people. We ride buses in America.
On that topic. So we went to the schools like Erika mentioned, but in South Africa, the popular fashion is, especially when you start a new year, you take your child, especially when they like grade 1, grade 2. If they're a little bit older than that, like the oldest one, you just leave, you just drop them off at the gate and they know where to go. But the little one, normally both parents, or at least one parent, would escort the child to their classroom and meet their teacher and meet some of their classmates. And then, but obviously here we didn't have that opportunity to do that. So the kids they got on the bus alone, both of them, and they were so brave. And I remember we took a video, and when my little one stepped, and that morning it was so cold outside. And that's also when I realized that our winter clothing is not sufficient for this American winters. And but the girls we prepared for that. The girls were properly dressed, they were warm, and they were bundled up. So yeah, but my heart broke when both of them had to step on that bus, and they were so brave. None of them cried or turned around and ran back to us. They simply got on the bus, greeted the bus driver, and off they went. And we had to wait. The little one comes home at 2:45 in the afternoon, and the oldest one, she comes at home almost at 4. So it's a very long day. It differs a whole lot from South African school times. Here in the US, it's a little bit different.
Well,
Luckily,
it's different in that respect because in the U.S. we have a 3-month break in the summertime. Kids don't go to school basically June, July, and August, and so now that's because America was an agricultural nation for such a long period of time, and kids were expected to be farm labor in the summertime when things are harvested and calves are produced, and you need them on the farm or around the home. So that's just a tradition that's stuck in America over the centuries, and so the days are longer during the year because you have 3 full months off, unlike the short breaks that you get in South Africa or in the UK or somewhere like that.
That's exactly what they explained to us. So, we were also asking that question: why are the school days so long? So, we're very proud of our 2 daughters, and both of them, when they returned to school from school the first day, they both had great days. So they were very pleased, and they made a lot of new friends. So, and then I was also a little bit more chilled out. I wasn't stressing so much about that. But for any parent, I would say, if you have to put your kids on a school bus for the first day, you are stressing on their part. You are nervous for them, and but now it's we don't worry about that anymore, and it's so safe here. All the people, like, we never realized that if a school bus stops to pick up kids, all the traffic behind that bus stops, and that is the law. That is part of the traffic law. And they have so much respect for the school buses and the kids getting off, and they are so safe. My daughter, I think she needs to walk like 20 meters to the sidewalk, and the school bus picks her up right there outside. So it's very safe, and nobody's gonna snatch them or gonna bother them. So that is that's another thing that we had to adjust to. So there's no burglar bars in front of the windows. There's no safety gates. But nobody bothers you. Nobody's going to come and break into your home or going to harass you. That's so wonderful. I mean, it's such a great experience to actually be in the United States and to experience this.
Well, in my neighborhood, what happens is a lot of the parents walk their kids through the neighborhood up to the main road, and we're not talking more than about 500 meters for the furthest one to walk, 400 or 500 meters. That's at the other end of the neighborhood. It's a small neighborhood, about 40 houses built into a semi-rural area. But they walk their kids up, and they stand up there with the kids in the morning waiting for the school bus. And then the parents walk back. Some of them drive their cars because they're lazy, but it's not that far. But they walk up there to the corner and wait with their kids. And, the parents hang out and chat in the morning. And then the kids get on the bus, and then they're back there in the afternoon to collect their kids, come back. Not because it's unsafe, but these are parents who are just engaging with their kids and also, engaging with their neighbors. Otherwise, they wouldn't have that opportunity because they're busy people. So are the girls, was it difficult for them to adjust to a longer school day? I mean, or is it something they picked up on very quickly and they're okay with it?
Well, they picked up on it very quickly. They did very well the first day. They were all smiles when they came up.
So they adjusted. I would say they adjusted fine. So they're happy with the school day, and that's so there's no problems regarding the school, the length of the school day, and there's enough time left after school if they have homework to actually do their homework. So no complaints in that department.
All right. So what's the experience been like so far from a standpoint of food? I mean, you guys shopping at grocery stores, Piggly Wiggly or Safeway or something like that, or Kroger, and are you finding the food you want, or are you jonesing for some Droevos and Biltong?
That's something to get used to. We don't see Biltong and Droevos, so
they've got at Kroger's and at Walmart they've got beef jerky. That's obviously not the same as Biltong, but as soon as I have an American bank account, I'm gonna start ordering some Biltong and Droevos from Amazon. I heard that is you can actually also get South African spices from Amazon as well. So that's something that we're missing. Is the food is fine. So we like to cook at home. We like to prepare our food at home. We don't eat out a lot, I would say, because it's unhealthy, and also in South Africa, it was expensive also to get takeout, once or twice a week or whatever. Maybe once a month we had a takeout or something. So we like to cook at home. And yeah, the grocery store is actually, I would say, half a mile from where we live. We can walk there. We have been walking there. But once a week, the international agency comes, the International Center. That's what the name of the organization. I think the head office is situated in Bowling Green, just an hour's drive from here. So they come once a week. They pick us up. They take us to Walmart, and you're allowed to get whatever you need. And they pay for it. They pay for it. Obviously, there's no food stamps or SNAP benefits, so they pay for it. So they explain to us every case, depending on the size. So we're a family of 4. There's a budget, I would say. Now, I'm not sure if it's an overall budget for the whole duration of the program, or if it's a monthly budget. I'm not too sure about that, or a weekly budget. But we just get what we need, and I told our agent, if there's something, if we are, he must inform us if we are overspending or underspending or whatever, or if we're not getting the right stuff. So you're only allowed to buy food items, and maybe some household cleaning items. That's also allowed. But like I said, we've been taken care of very well. No complaints in that department.
So you're in a rental property, it looks like. Do you have a 1, 2, 3 bedroom place? And did it come with furniture? And did it come with your internet, or is that something you had to get on your own?
So we have a spacious 2-bedroom apartment. And the internet connection, so there were, like, the infrastructure was already here. I just had to take my passport to the internet service provider, and they opened up a prepaid contract for me. So I think it's about $50 a month. So, and then it's uncapped. It's rather quite good internet, I would say. And also the girls, they benefit from the internet connection. If there's a no school day or a snow day, they both receive computers, and they have to connect that to the internet. And obviously they have class virtually with their teachers, connecting obviously on the internet. So yeah, the benefits of internet is I would say that's lovely. We also, both of us, when we arrived here, the agency gave us both a new cell phone. I think it's unlimited voice, text, and data for 1 month. So they covered the first month. From the second month, we need to cover that ourselves out of our allowance that we receive. And also the internet, we also need to pay for that $50 for the internet, also out of our allowance.
Yeah, no, that's what's supposed to happen is you're supposed to see, under the law, refugee support lasts for the full 5 years. But support isn't all the cash assistance, isn't all the money things. It's things like, if you got a question about, updating a resume, or you need advice or to coach you, something like that, or a lending clause or something like that. That's what's supposed to last for 5 years. But traditionally, the money that you're authorized to get is supposed to be 1 year. But then what happened is it's only been funded for as much as 8 months in the past. And over the past several years, under Trump, under Biden, and now back under Trump, it was limited to about 4 months for most refugees when they arrived over here with the cash assistance and stuff like that. Now it's officially just 3 months, and you've also lost food stamps, which isn't available anymore. But we saw in Rochester that those people up there are trying to push the refugees off of assistance in a month. They're trying to get rid of them a month. They're trying to claim that they paid for all these things, and here you go, without giving them an itemized list of all the things that were spent on their behalf. So if you're a refugee and you come over here and your agency says, well, you're burning through your money, then you say, well, what's it gone to? They're supposed to provide you a list: $145 for a bag of groceries when you arrive, $50 for your internet, then $20 for transportation, $500 for your deposit, $1,500 for your rent. They should give you a list of all that stuff. and that's actually helpful for new refugees to get a feel for what it actually costs to get around and do things, because otherwise you're still in the dark, you're guessing. And so it's a legal responsibility, but it's also a useful tool for them to give to you. So hopefully it sounds like you're getting good help from those guys. But did I understand you correctly? The school gave both your kids a laptop?
Yes, so it still remains the property of the school, but it's basically that's how they do it here in the US, or well, in this county at least, or at those public schools. So instead of writing a test like the old-fashioned way, or writing a essay or an oral or whatever, they do everything electronically on laptops. And even my second grader, she also received a laptop, and just I think it was Monday this past Monday, they had a no school day. It was a virtual day, and they both got to stay at home, and they were interacting with their teacher and their classmates virtually. So they receive headphones, and obviously we connect the laptops to the Wi-Fi and the web. So there's a program that they access, and then they join the classroom or the session, whatever. And they can see the teacher, they can see their classmates, and they can interact with them, and that's how they do assignments and tests or whatever. Or that's at least what they explain to us. So the computer is used for everything. I think the second grader, they still get to, color in and paint, but the older one, everything happens on the computer.
Well, that explains why my property taxes keep going up in Pennsylvania, giving laptops out to kids. What the heck is that nonsense? No, seriously. That would explain why my taxes keep going up every year here in Pennsylvania, because school taxes are the primary funding method for public schools in much of the country, and that's the case here. We have a blue ribbon school here that has really high performing standards, but they really suck a lot of money out of the taxpayer to pay for that. So anyway, that's interesting here. So that's good to hear they got that. There was something over here in the chat. Oh, someone keeps asking this question. I think it stems from the fact that the Strauss family, who I had on, Werner has a European passport, so he had a safe haven. So people are asking Martin, with a name like Strauss, do you have a recent German ancestry? Do you have a European passport, or were you the primary? I'm guessing you're a South African. You don't have that link, and you were the primary applicant.
That's correct.
Okay, so you didn't have a safe haven passport. So because the Strauss family broke all the rules. All the lies have been spread by the media. Well, first off, you can't go if you have a family member with a safe haven passport. That's untrue. Oh, you can't go if you have adopted children. That's untrue. You can't go if you have children with special needs who are autistic. You can't have a person with cancer. Untrue. But black people can't go. Untrue. The Strauss family in one interview disproved all of that. Did you guys watch my interview with the Strauss family?
What's everything?
Yes.
So what did you think? Were you at all surprised by that interview?
We were definitely. That came out of the blue, honestly, and it's. I can already, hear the media. Obviously, were there local news reporting on that specific case?
No.
Or was it just,
no media outlet in South Africa has covered it. It's now been a month since I interviewed them, and over a month, and not a single media outlet. Only briefly, which you really can't consider a news outlet. Yeah. So there was something over here. I blame Josh Shapiro. No, Alan, I can't blame Josh Shapiro. Pennsylvania, the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania has a law that allows school districts to automatically raise your taxes every year without going to the voters. Whoever voted that in needs to be horsewhipped in in front of everybody. I don't know when that came in, but allowing a school district to just raise your taxes automatically without your consent. In Ohio, you can't raise school taxes without a levy that goes before the voters. So no, that came long before Shapiro. We can't blame him for that. I don't like Josh Shapiro, but we can't blame him for that. No, they're not going to cover the Strauss family. All right, so someone asked a question about matching grants. Michigan has matching grants. New York has matching grants. Kentucky, anything like that, where you get some money from the state as well?
So the matching grant is that's basically our source of income. That's our grant, if you call it that, that we are getting. So the cash assistance is basically the matching grant assistance that we are receiving from the government.
All right, and are you enrolled in Medicare, or Medicaid, excuse me?
That's correct. Yes, all of us. Yeah.
Have you guys had any occasion yet, knock on wood if you haven't, but do you have any occasion yet to visit a doctor or see a dentist or anything like that?
Not yet, not yet. So we're all very healthy, I would say. But apparently, also the schools, they also have some, I would say, medical services like dentistry and eye care and stuff. That's also covered by the Medicaid, so you don't have to. So somebody told me the other day around here, there's only one, I would say, dental clinic in Owensboro. So if you want a dentist appointment, you're gonna wait 6 months. So, but apparently, if those services are provided in the schools as well, and they don't have to wait that long, and it's also covered by the Medicaid scheme, I would say.
Well, a lot of things have changed since I was a youngster in school. It's been a couple days ago. We always had a school nurse in any school that I attended, but it wasn't much more than that. I see that schools are offering a lot more now than they did. There certainly weren't any computers back then. A computer when I was a kid, it filled up a barn. It filled up an entire building. That was a computer, and it took these cards, the IBM data punch cards that were fed into it. They were only coming out with cassette tapes when I finished high school, and we put PCs in our computer and computer lab, and I spent a lot of time with that. But so your arrival there seems to have gone very well. Your departure seems to have gone very well. You did say you broke your mom's heart about the grandkids, but there's nothing to prevent her from coming over for a visit.
No, so I think once we're settled and once both of us has employment, I think we maybe going to stay in this housing maybe for maybe a year. I would say the lease is a year, but luckily this landlord is also very flexible. So if we can build credit in the next 6 or 7 or 8 months or whatever, we can move to, I would say, maybe a 3-bedroom home in the suburbs or whatever. That's also going to be, obviously, it's going to be determined by our income. So yeah, so that is the dream, or the short-term goals for us is getting our own transportation because we don't own a car yet. And obviously then moving out of this apartment into something comfortable, more a little bit bigger, I would say, maybe closer to the schools. I know if you move closer to the schools, you're going to lose the bus ride. I think it's if you stay within 2 miles radius within the school that your kid is going to, they're not allowed to go on the bus anymore. But that's something I heard. I don't know if it's true, but it's something that we've heard.
No, that's probably pretty true. But like in Ohio, most of the places I went to school, the schools were built out in the countryside on the edge of a farm field or something like that. So nobody lived close to the school. So everybody rode a bus. But that's typically the norm. So there's a question from Henny Kruger. If one of the mods could put my email address for the account in there for Henny Kruger, he's saying we're South Africans currently living in Kentucky for the last 4 years. We'd like to make contact with these people. Can we get their contact information? You send me an email, Henny, and then I'll write to them and ask them if I can give their number to you. All right. I don't disclose without their permission. So send me an email, and one of the mods put the email in there, and then we'll try to link you up that way. And Henny, you want to come on the channel and talk about Kentucky? What's it like for South African labor? You've been there for a while. Talk about your experience. You immigrated if you want to, Henny. We don't just interview refugees, although that's been a focus of late. Anyway, so all right, well, it sounds like you're adjusting very well to life here in America. And like I said, once you're settled in, you get a better feel for things. There's nothing to prevent family members from coming over to visit if they have no intention to come over as refugees. But they can certainly visit America with a visitor's visa to come over to the U.S. Yeah. Just don't try to be clever and come on a visitor visa and declare asylum. You're going to go in detention. In case that's what that South African discovered in Atlanta.
Yeah.
All right. So did you guys maintain any presence in South Africa? Do you keep a bank account or a credit card or debit card back there for ease of banking coming over?
Yes, we have a Capitec debit card.
All right, well, that's smart. Everyone I talk to says Capitec has a very low transfer rate to transfer funds from South Africa abroad, which is good to hear. So what do you, let me ask this question of Erika. What are you most looking forward to after we get out of the snow, when you get to summer? Is there anything in Owensboro that's interesting you take the kids out and do? Parks, any national events, anything you've discovered yet, or you still just kind of get a feel for what's going on?
We have been to the ice skating place where they can ice skate. So we are looking forward to taking them there again because we was very, very fun for them. They enjoyed it. So they asked when are we going? So yes, we're going to take them sometime with that.
Well, one thing you discovered, as you said early on, which I try to caution South Africans about all the time, is South Africans seem to think that they have lots of snivel gear. That's an army term. We call snivel gear cold weather gear because it's cold. No, we call it snivel gear. So it's not meant as a derisive term. It's just an army phrase. But South Africans, they try to tell me their snivel gear is impressive. But your K-Way puffer jacket is not going to keep you warm in America. I think you discovered that pretty quickly. Is there anything that surprised you about the cold, or anything that you wish you had brought over that you didn't bring over with you, whether it's an heirloom or something important or an item of clothing? Is there something you didn't bring that you wish you brought over? Martin, let me ask you first, and then we'll ask Erika.
Well, I can't say warm winter clothing because that's going to be, that's just not going to work. I would say if I could have brought something, to keep my mind busy while we're waiting for this whole process to progress, I would say. So we do have cell phones, we do have the internet. I'm thinking more around about, maybe like playing some online gaming. That was a hobby I used to do in South Africa. I used to play, on console. I used to play a little bit of online gaming. I'm actually I'm missing that quite a lot. So unfortunately, that's also something that we had to sell, that we had to get rid of. So yeah, I would, when the time is right and we have sufficient funding or money to do something like that, I will definitely invest. Because me and the girls, we three, we like spending time, doing a little bit of gaming. Just takes the mind off, and keeping you occupied, I would say.
Well, the challenge with that, of course, is a true gaming machine costs a fortune. A PC is easy, but a gaming machine, I suppose you could game a bit on a PC, but a real gaming machine is a beast. My machine's a beast. I had a custom built a few years ago. It has lots of processing, huge video card. So, but that's something to look forward to. There's a couple things in the chat here. Let me address. So, Are You Well says, don't get it. Are you able to actually get a job there, or do you have to be off of a grant? I don't understand what you don't get. Are you well? We haven't addressed that. And so what are you confused about? Unemployment is 4.1% in the United States. Everybody can get a job. If you're willing to get a job, you're willing to work, you're not lazy, you can work anywhere. The question is, will you get a job in your field, which is, I'm going to segue into that in a second. But you may not get a job in your field. You may be a nurse and you don't have the certifications and qualifications to meet U.S. standards, so you'll have to do something else in the meantime until you fix that. You might be a lawyer. Well, you're not qualified to be a lawyer here, so you'll have to take some courses and pass the bar. You may be an industrial engineer, and the certification you need isn't quite the same, so you have to go through it. So you have to be humble and take what job you can, but there are tons of jobs out there, and they pay quite well. We pay $20 an hour to people who work at McDonald's. That's insane. I made $3.35 an hour for a job like that when I was working in the food service industry as a college student. So that's just crazy. But I don't understand what you don't get. There's nothing to get. There are jobs aplenty. We have 13 million jobs sitting empty right now, waiting for people to fill them around the country. So that's not an issue to even worry about. I wouldn't even lose any sleep over that. And there was something, no, it wasn't there. Okay, so now let me segue to this. So Martin, do you have a field where you're working in a field, and are you looking forward to working in that field, or have you gone online to see what kind of job opportunities might be in the Owensboro area yet, or have you looked that far?
Yes, so definitely extensively. I've been doing that while waiting patiently. So I would say the area of, I was in engineering and manufacturing, to be specific, sheet metal processing, like laser cutting and sheet metal bending and welding and all that.
There's tons of work for that in America. And it pays very well.
So all around the country, actually, for some reason, there's a huge amount of I would say laser cutting companies based in Florida and Wisconsin. I would say Michigan's got a couple. Minnesota has, even Indiana. There's spread around all around the country. Texas has some. So I would say I would comfortably, find a job in my field, even in Owensboro. There's also a huge manufacturing industry surrounding Owensboro. So there's a company I think just down the road here, and also one in Bowling Green. They manufacture vehicle chassis or truck chassis. So I've actually phoned a couple of companies up, just testing the water, seeing whether what are the chances. I still need to get my CV. I'm going to ask the agency for some help there to I would say Americanize my CV. Currently we don't have a computer, so I can't do it on my own. So that's something I will need assistance with. But there's also a career center in Owensboro that also, I think, for a fee, if you pay them, they will be able to professionally assist you in, preparing your CV or your resume for the American job market. So that's the route that we're going to take, obviously.
Well, sorry.
Sorry.
No, I say most states have job centers where they offer those sort of services free of charge. But you were going to say about Erika. Does Erika have she has 2 kids she's raising, so I don't know if she has a professional background or she's worked or what, but you were going to tell me, I think.
I actually, back in South Africa, used to make brownies and fudge. So here in Owensboro, there is a possibility for me to start at my youngest kid's school in a cafeteria.
All right, so there you go. Wow, that's one way to keep an eye on your kid, at least at lunchtime.
In terms of employment, I would say Erika I'm still sitting under the bridge. And Erika is basically, she's got a concrete job offer. And basically they're just waiting on her documentation. And then she can most probably get a job at the elementary school my youngest daughter goes to.
Well, that's brilliant. It's good that you're both being proactive and looking and not waiting till you have your documents, because you'll lose a lot of time. A lot of folks, as soon as you get those documents, they already have job offers and they start like right away. So there was another question here from Henny Bosch, unrelated to you guys. Said, another Henny just arrived in Birmingham. If any South African around, I would love to make contact with them. Well, Henny, send me an email. I've been to Birmingham to interview refugees. I went down there. CNN paid for the flight. But there's a whole story behind the CNN thing. But go ahead and write me an email. One of the mods put the email up there, and I will put you in touch with folks in Birmingham. And also, I presume you're a refugee, although it doesn't state that there. If you'd like to come on and do an interview, please contact me and say you'd like to do an interview. And we're happy to do that as soon as possible. All right, so I will be going to Texas on Thursday, assuming that the ice storms and snowstorms don't prevent my flight. But that's why I gave myself an extra day in there so that I can have Friday to travel if necessary. But I'll be off to Texas later this week. We have a big meet and greet down there in Argyle, Texas, for South African refugees. Texas has over 200 South African refugees already, and the number is growing. Any idea how many of you are in Owensboro there?
Currently, we are, I would say, 3 cases. So there was a family that came over, I would say, November last year. I think it was around about the 15th of November. They were the first Afrikaner family that came to, or the first family from the Afrikaner refugee program that came over. It's only 3 of them. And then we were the second case. And then I think a day or 2 after us, there was one a single man came over, and I think Monday the 26th, tomorrow, we are expecting a family of 3 coming in.
It's fascinating, guys, because a lot of South Africans ask some of these actually truly crazy questions based on false assumptions on their part, or they make these comments like, oh, how come only families go over? It's not just families. I just interviewed or met with 2 singletons in Rochester, New York, who are sharing a house and splitting the rent. They're 2 South Africans. Also, the 2 ladies from Connecticut came on my program. They're sharing a house, but they're 2 singletons. And also, someone asked me if gay South Africans come over. Yeah. I've talked to gay South Africans over here. I don't understand what's going on. Why do people make these asinine conclusions? The program is not for gays or straights or browns or blacks or whites or blues or yellows or greens or Christians, Muslims, Jews. No, it's for South Africans. Afrikaners are priority, but South Africans, Afrikaners, and racial minorities who are suffering unjust persecution. It's as simple as that. And I know part of the problem is the media, South Africa, and the politicians continue to lie. Were you guys... were you ever misinformed about the program, or did you stay pretty straight on the arrow because you were watching my content?
No, we were not misinformed. We only got the correct information from you, Chris Wyatt. So we watched your channel, and and maybe sometime even go look
We
this
also,
channel.
we also follow Evan. He's also been I would say, apart from you, he was also a great help, especially the guidance of how to prepare for an interview, that type of stuff. But that's also stuff that I know you also covered extensively in your programs and content. Yeah, so both of you guys, we were relying heavily on, I would say, primarily you and then Evan.
All right, so this interview is ending right now. We're not promoting Professor G on this channel. No, I'm just kidding. That's who they're talking about. Talking about Professor G, who's an asylum attorney and a law school professor from Tulane down there in Louisiana, and he does some really great content. So you can check him out, Professor G. There was, are you well? That's the person who asked that question earlier. Puzzled me. I'm currently deciding between applying for a job to enter the U.S. legally through work or applying for refugee status as an alternative path. Any downsides to taking the refugee path? Well, I mean, I'll let them answer in a second, but this is my response, not being a refugee. Being an immigrant to America is not an easy path. First off, if you're coming over under a skill, you're going to need H-1B, and now that requires a $100,000 payment by your employer. So it's already become a problem for many small and mid-sized employers. Big firms, like Google and Yahoo and stuff like those, and Microsoft, they're going to pay that fee because they want the talent, which they can then underpay compared to American workers. So they can fire the American workers. So they'll do that. But a smaller company like a welding company in Owensboro isn't going to have $100,000 to sponsor you to come over here. And it might even not qualify for it. So I don't know what your career field is, RUL. I don't know what your background is. But getting here is difficult. Also, your work permit has very strict conditions, and if you get unemployed, you have to leave the country. If your employer fires you, you can't stay here because your visa's tied to the employment. Whereas with a refugee, that isn't the case. The refugee is being given refuge because there are issues underlying in your country. That's why you're allowed to come here. And as long as you don't become a criminal, and as long as you obey the laws of this country and you didn't defraud the country to get your immigration status as a refugee coming over here, your refugee status stays in place. The only key thing you have to do is, other than obey the law, is you have to apply for your green card at the 12-month period. And then once you have that, then you can stay here indefinitely because things aren't going to improve in South Africa. And at the 5-year point, you can even become a citizen. Whereas as someone who comes over and work, you're going to have to work many, many years if you want to become a citizen. I'm not encouraging you to become a citizen or discourage you. I'm just telling you that to me, there's no downside to being a refugee other than the fact that it's fraught with uncertainty. Am I going to get it? How long do I have to wait? I don't see any downside to it. Now, I'll let you guys answer that question. Do you see any downside to being a refugee? And that's important because we had this Canadian immigration consultant come on television on Newsroom Africa and claim when this first came out last year, being a refugee is a black mark in your passport. No one wants a refugee in your passport. You can't go anywhere. It's as if you failed. That's a lie. It's a lie. Being a refugee is actually an exalted status because it's showing that you had to flee from a place, either Somalia or the Congo or South Africa, and someone offered you refuge and succor to protect you because you were at risk of being killed or persecuted. So that's my take on it. Martin, Erika, what's your take? Are there any downsides to following the refugee path from your perspective?
No, honestly, I wouldn't say there's much downside, apart from the uncertainty, I would say, and the time it takes to get going. But I think once we get going, once we get employment, once we get transportation, once we get on our feet properly, everything will work out fine. So I would say refugees is also in a better position as asylees, in terms of. I know if you we actually know people, also South Africans that applied for asylum. They were not put in removal proceedings by the government. They received their EODs and their social security, and they're now allowed to work. But I know it's going to cost for them to become citizens. It's going to cost more for them physically, financially than for us, basically. So
I think I agree with you 100% there. Pat just said something that's quite poignant too, and I've said this many times in the past. If you're debating about whether you should come here for a work permit or you should apply for the refugee program, then the odds are you're not being persecuted. You're not in fear of your life. So the refugee program, unless you can articulate a legitimate reason why you should come over, probably isn't for you. So just saying, that's a good point there. And someone said, Macaroni or something like that said, I'm terrified I won't find a job. Why? Unemployment's 4%. I don't understand what's so hard to understand. Ladies and gentlemen, with unemployment at 4%, let me explain what that means. In a country with 178 million jobs, 178 million jobs where people are working, 1% of people are physically incapable of working. So they'll never be able to work because they just can't do it. mental issues, physical issues. 1% of people are always, or 2% are in transition from one job to another, moving to a different part of the country, another opportunity, or maybe they got fired and they got to find another job. And 1% of the people don't want to work. So if you have 4% unemployment, that's basically full employment. That means anybody that wants a job is going to find a job. If you can't find a job, it means you're lazy or useless in this environment.
I do agree with you, Colonel. Even if we go out, if we drive around town, and some of the businesses that we visit, or the stores, and everywhere where you see help wanted, now hiring, and they're very transparent with their hiring process, and even they can tell you upfront what you are going to earn per hour. So I would say there's no shortage of jobs in the United States.
Everywhere,
well, not at least.
Everywhere I go in Pennsylvania, almost every business has a sign "Help Wanted." Almost everyone. It's insane, and that's not even for professional jobs. And again, as a refugee, you may have to be humble to start out to make sure your qualifications and your standards they match U.S. Doesn't mean, look, you might be a better welder than we have in America, but the standards for certification are different. So you probably have to go through it here. And if you're a better welder, then it'll be a snap. It'll be done just like that. You'll get it just like that. All right, so guys. Oh, wow. This is amazing. We met at a wine estate there in Parle. And, I made an effort specifically to come there to do that meet and greet. I didn't know it was just going to be you guys showing up because I offered it to other people, and you the guys are the only ones that came. And but we had a good time nonetheless, right? I always tell people that if nobody shows up at my meet and greet, no big deal. I'll get something to eat or I'll get something to drink. If one person shows up, that's success. But you guys were the only ones came, and I had a great time. It seems like you had a good time too.
Yes, it was actually for us, it was an honor because we had some long time with you. Not everyone can say that.
It's an up close and personal meeting, I would say.
Well, how long have you been watching my channel? I mean, does it go before the refugees?
Definitely before. Yeah,
yes,
I would say about a good 2 years. I would say since the last Rugby World Cup, I would say at least, definitely.
Oh wow, yeah, that's over 2 years ago. Then the last record was in 2023. So wow, that's great to see. And it was a pleasure for me to meet you there, guys. And also, if you remind me as I got you on camera that's where we met at, because I was trying to pull on the hard drive back here. Why do they look familiar? Why do they look familiar? Why do they look familiar? And I had to think there for a second. But thank you so much for coming on. Is there someone earlier, by the way, said that Erika's going to lose that lovely Afrikaans accent? No, that's stuck. She's not getting rid of that.
I'm planning on keeping it. So my husband, Martijn, says I'm using English for self-defense. So I have a long way to go for the English, but I'm getting it.
He's got a very strong Afrikaner accent. I would say most probably my two girls, they will most probably lose it in the future. But I'm also we had a few interactions with Americans. Standing in the checkout line at the grocery store the other day at Walmart, I spoke Afrikaans to the girls, and there was an elderly gentleman and his wife behind us, and I spoke Afrikaans, and he was just like shouting like, "What's that, German?" So I politely turned around and I told him, no, we are from South Africa, and that was Afrikaans. And obviously he never heard of the language. He had heard of South Africa, but he didn't hear he wasn't aware of the language Afrikaans. And he claimed it sounded like a little German to him. Like there's a few, I would say, words that almost like a type of aggressive language, I would say. So and obviously Americans, they pick up instantly on your accent. They instantly realize that you're not from around here. And some of them guess that we are from Britain somewhere or from England. This is Mia. This is the oldest.
Yeah. That's she looks familiar.
But honestly, here in the state of Kentucky, it's that classic Southern hospitality. I would say most of the interactions with people we don't know, it tends to be friendly, and with it's like you can feel the warmth. It's like everybody welcomes you. We've been to church last Sunday, and everybody was so welcoming, and they asked us, or they told us, if you need anything, just ask. So I would say we are very blessed at the moment in the position we are. The couple of people we met, have been very helpful, and also the agency. So we got a lot going for us. So
You do indeed.
yeah,
And now that Mia has come on camera there, we can't help but ask her a question. Mia, going to school, what's it been like? And when you first arrived, are people like, where are you from? Did they question your accent, or did it make for a fun moment?
So it was fun at school, and a lot of things are different. And when I first got there, everybody asked me where I'm from and what language I speak, and how you say certain words in Afrikaans, and then I have to say it in English, and then they try to say it back.
How did they do saying it back with their southern accents? Did they do okay, or was it a little shaky?
It was funny.
It was funny for her, and she told us the first day when some of the kids, when the teacher introduced to the class for the first time, when she told her that Mia is from South Africa, and she said the kids just looked at her wildly, Africa, you're from Africa.
Well, they were probably confused because they probably are thinking, but you're not black. So Mia, what's school like? Are you enjoying it? I mean, it's your parents said you're enjoying it. So if you're not, just wink. Just wink.
You can tell me what your experience is going on. Yeah.
I like my school.
Okay. Do you have a favorite subject?
Social studies.
Social studies. Okay. All right. That's interesting. Wow. And okay, so your dad and your mom were talking about you guys getting on a school bus, which is a very different experience in South Africa. What was that like? How are the kids on the bus? Were they rowdy, or is everybody well behaved?
When I got on, everybody stared at me, and then I went to get a seat. Everybody was quiet. So I was yeah.
So that was, but that was the first day. What's it like now? You've been going to school for a little bit, so it's just not a big thing, right?
Yeah, it's kind of the same. Everybody they don't talk. I sit next to this one girl and we talk, but the rest of the class is quiet.
Okay. Well, guys, I think that Mia's adjusting to America very well, because as a typical preteen, her main word is not yes or yes, sir. It's yeah. I see that already, just like American kids.
He's watching, so it has a lot of influence on her.
No doubt. All right, guys, let me do this, okay? Let me go around the room, and since Mia popped on, I'll ask her if there's anything she wants to share, because if there's any other, kids, preteens out there that might be coming over as refugees, Mia, I put you on the spot. Any advice for them about coming over, adapting? Is the flight long? What's it like going to school? Just some things I can share. Then we'll ask your parents for their thoughts. But you get the floor, Mia. It's your floor.
The flight is very long, so if you want to sleep, just it's not gonna work, because sleeping on a plane doesn't work for me. And when you talk to the kids at school, try to speak like them. Don't say yes, say yeah. And if they don't understand anything, just try to say it slower. And yeah, that's all.
All right, that's great advice for young kids coming over. Appreciate that. We can't ask the infants because a lot of them aren't talking, so it's nice to have Mia pop on the program. All right, let me go to Martin, and I'm going to finish with Erika because Erika helped set this up. So, Martin, any concerns or any recommendation or advice for folks that want to apply for the program, come over? One of the big things that we keep hearing from people is that, at Lili Van de Plas always likes to say, trust the process. And I always tell people to be patient. I know it's not easy. I'm not in your shoes, but patience is your friend. Anything along those lines, or anything that needs to stand out you need to tell folks?
Yeah, definitely. I would say patience is a virtue. We learn patience from this program, and we still have to have patience. So I would say trust the program. And if you are in interview stages or background checks or whatever, so just be honest. That's the most important thing. If you're going to be dishonest, eventually they will catch you out. And I've heard there was a couple of cases that got denied because of dishonesty. So I would say the main thing is just be honest and just be calm. That's my best advice.
Well, Martin, before you've offered some great advice here, but before we move on, let me ask this question because I wasn't reticent, but I was negligent in asking this question. A lot of the families that come over said one of their biggest motivations for coming to the U.S. was their concern for the future of their children. You got 2 lovely kids. Was that a consideration for your family?
Definitely, Colonel. That was definitely one of the primary reasons that we applied. So yeah, definitely, I would say absolutely. My kids is yeah. So I also have to just put it out there. We were here about 3 days. Then this whole thing hit me like a truck, I would say, because it's like your whole world turns upside down. And then you realize that you're going to be at least in the United States for at least 5-6 years before you become a citizen. And so going back to South Africa is not an option. So, and we left everybody there. My whole family is there. Erika's whole family is there. The grandfathers, the grandmothers, my brothers, sisters, they're all there. We were the only ones that applied. So for me, it was a mental thing. And I just had to keep on reminding myself why I'm here and why I applied. And my children is the number one reason that keeps coming up. The futures of my children, basically.
Well, that's a great thing to hear. And Transvaal Republic, as the username said, that you made the best choice for your children, Meneer Strauss. So, Erika, let me ask you for thoughts or recommendations, or if you want to comment also too about the concern for your kids' future.
Well, I was concerned for their future. Are they going to get a job someday? Are they going to get employed or even go to college? Because everywhere you go, there's no, they don't accept white children. That was a very serious concern for us. And I would say, don't worry about summer clothes. It's not going to work. Leave it behind, sell it or give it away. Just take winter clothing. Take the warmest clothing you have in your cupboard and go along with that, because thin clothing won't work. It's a no-go.
Especially if you're set to come over within the next couple of months, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, by about April, things get warmer. March it starts to turn. That's when spring starts. But by April, it's plenty warm for most people. Just need a light jacket. In April, your puffer jackets will work from K-Way, but they don't work in January. All right, so just a word of advice here. Mia is 11, and it's not an issue now, but a few years down the road there, Erika, you're going to have to worry about those American boys. So just keep an eye on that.
Yeah.
To worry about. So, yes, it's going to be a rough ride, but we'll handle it once we get there.
Excellent. Well, guys, I hate to end this conversation because it's actually kind of lekker. I'm really enjoying it, and I hope that you've enjoyed the Look at Mia smiling because I said lekker. Mia, ek praat nie Afrikaans nie, eh? But yeah, so I really enjoy the conversation. I hope you guys enjoyed as well.
Yes, we did.
It was a privilege and honor, to be part of this.
And it's really so good to see you guys again. I mean, that was to me I really enjoyed that evening, because when you left, I was all alone in that entire wine estate by myself with the wind howling outside. It was kind of lonely. So I really enjoyed it. It's so good to see you guys again, and thank you for coming on. And God bless you and your family. Let's stay in touch, and if you want to come back on down the road, we can do that. Okay.
Yes, definitely, I will definitely contact you again and reach out to you and keep you updated with our process. And I won't lose contact with you. And I will keep on watching your channel because I love the news and I enjoy your company and content.
And also, Colonel, maybe you can do a Kentucky meet and greet one day, maybe in Bowling Green or...
Well, my sister moved back to Ohio. Kentucky's just below Ohio, and it's a good excuse for me to go see my sister and then make the trip down to Kentucky. I haven't been to Kentucky in a while, So yeah, you get a few more refugees there. I mean, it's a little bit further for me to drive than say going to Rochester, which was a 5-hour drive, but it's not unfeasible. And actually, if the channel continues to grow and revenue comes in, I use the revenue and pour it back into the business, and that pays for the travel. And so that's kind of what's helping pay for the trip to Dallas. But so yeah, I'd love to come to Kentucky. Last time I was there, I went to Fort Campbell, which is really mostly in Tennessee, but it's the post office is in Kentucky. So absolutely, that's it's something I'd love to do. I've never been to Owensboro, so we'll check it out. All right, guys, thank you so much. Bye donkey, kia ora. And I wish you a very lovely snow-filled weekend. Hey, Mia, what's the snow like? You enjoying the snow?
She likes playing in the snow, so she enjoys it.
No doubt. All right, guys, God bless and take care. And I'm going to wrap it up here. I'll let you drop off, and then I'll go on to the Cafe Clutch, okay?
Thank you, Colonel.
Okay, thank you, Colonel.
Thank you.
You
Bye-bye.
must have a nice evening.
All right, folks, there you go. Let me put them. She's going to have a hard time getting that on the phone, so I'll help her get into the waiting room. There you go. So in the waiting room. So that's the Strauss family in Owensboro, Kentucky. And for those of you who don't believe in the program, that's your prerogative. Those who believe in the program, that's your interest. We're trying to bring you objective interviews with folks here. They've had a pretty good experience, although a little bumpy start with RSC because the agent who talked to them wasn't convinced that they were articulating their case well. But as it turns out, they simply repeated the same story, and it was sufficient for refugee status. So lovely to see them. Thanks for Mia for popping on there late. Really appreciate that. I hope that that the family does very well and they succeed. Also, I learned something here. It looks like perhaps, and Mad Max, I'll check your WhatsApp, that perhaps the way to get a Social Security has changed for refugees as of January 1st. I was unaware of that. So it's always good to be updated on things that we don't know about. I'll look into that. Martin says, thanks for the info and advice. You're welcome. Okay. All right. And that's going to do it, folks. Thanks for any super chats. And if your questions came in, if you've got refugee specific questions, we'll be live before the bottom of the hour with Refugee Cafe Clutch coming up. All right. Thank you so much. Been here 15 years, born South Coast. Oh, you're talking about South Africa. Okay. All right, guys. Cheers. We'll catch you here on the program, hopefully in a few minutes for Cafe Clutch. And my thanks to the Strauss family. It was lovely to see them again. And you guys, cheers. Be well.